In this video, I'm going to be going over the top 10 Skibidi Toilet characters of all time. Alright, to start this list off, we are going to be going from the 10th spot all the way up to the 1st spot. In 10th place for the best character, we have Titan Speakerman. This might end up being my most controversial placement here. I know everyone loves Titan Speakerman, and I do too. I personally just think this is the best place I can give him. Now, why is Titan Speakerman in my 10th spot? Well, he is an extremely agile and quick character. This allows him to do a ton of attacks in short bursts of time. I also love his helicopter style of attack. This attack is such a powerful attack that can wipe out anything in Titan Speakerman's vicinity. For my number 9 spot, I am going to be choosing the Elite TV Man, and this was the TV character introduced in episode 73. The character design of this TV man is honestly one of my favorites. I love how his arms are like almost too long for his body. I also love his arsenal. In episode 74, he uses a blade attached to his arm to kill off a toilet. And oh man, I just love that so much. I also love his sound design. Whenever he speaks, it sounds like he's changing which ear he is speaking into. Here, listen to it for yourself. Gosh, that is such a cool sound design choice. I love that. For my number 8 spot, I chose to pick Lucky Cameraman. This is a unique character. I absolutely love his dynamic between the secret agent and the alliance. He's like a double agent, and I love how he works for the secret agent, but also seems to want to help the alliance too. It is such a unique character conflict that he has within himself. I love that. Since we're talking about the Lucky Cameraman, I might as well bring up the secret agent for my number 7 spot. I like how the secret agent is basically pulling the strings of this entire Skibidi Toilet conflict. It seems he has a certain amount of control in some instances, and he's basically a god in the Skibidi Toilet series. But from the most recent scenes, it seems he is limited to what he can do in some scenarios. I do also like how in the extra scenes for the Skibidi Toilet Season 25 compilation video, he basically has a tiny crash out. It's goofy, and I just love that. For my number 6 spot, I have the Astro Juggernaut. Now, this character hasn't been around too much, but for the scenes he has been in, he is absolutely phenomenal. I like how he is a warrior for the Astros, but as soon as he sees his old buddy G-Toilet, he goes soft. In Season 25, after having a pretty physical conversation, it seems like he starts to question his own beliefs. I'm interested to see where this little dilemma within himself actually goes. Will he join the side of the Alliance, or stick with the Astros? Who knows? Only time will tell. Alright, this is it. My top 5 Skibidi Toilet characters of all time. And since we kind of referenced G-Toilet just now, let's talk about why he is my number 5 pick. I do like how G-Toilet has evolved throughout the series. At first, he seemed to be the big bad boss of the toilets, but has eventually turned into a character full of emotion and depth. What I like most is how cunning he is on the battlefield. Take for instance the fight in episode 72. In that fight, he outsmarts the Astro Detainer and ends up making the toilet use its own weapons against itself. He is really good in episode 73 too. He literally 3v1s the entire Titan trio. I mean, he does get pretty bruised in this battle, but the fact that he is able to outplay 3 Titans is impressive. I also like how after this episode, he starts to realize that he needs to join forces with the Alliance since the Astro Toilets are becoming the main threat. For my number 4 spot, I have Titan TV Man. This is my favorite Titan out of the entire Titan trio. I love his abilities, and I honestly think he might be a little overpowered. I love his character personality. He is arrogant and thinks he can do basically anything, but he will also do anything to try and help his friends. In episode 74, he specifically tells the other 2 Titans to go and repair themselves. So he isn't all about arrogance. He actually has a heart. His arrogance, however, led to him being controlled by the opposing force. And now that I think about it, Titan TV Man getting controlled by the Astro Toilets is kind of a nice callback to when Titan Speakerman got controlled by the Scientist Toilet's parasites. Now, it's time for the top 3 Skibidi Toilet characters of all time. For my number 3 spot, I picked Camera Woman. Now, one of the main reasons why I picked her as my number 3 spot is because of her recent lore development. At first, she wasn't really that much of a great character, but after the death of Plunger Man, she started turning into one of the coolest characters of all time. She basically becomes the leader of the Cameraman faction. I really love how her human backstory kind of gets developed more in episode 77. The character of Kathy is honestly really cool, In her flashback sequence in episode 77, it seems like she really likes Dave and really cares for him. I think the fact that her character is caring for others is kind of reminiscent of Dave in his Plungerman form. Plungerman cared for his friends, and whenever he saw them die, it seemed to take a toll on him. Kathy is the exact same. Okay, number 2 is going to be an interesting one. For this one, I picked the scientist TV man. He is a really interesting character. I like how he is tactical with everything he does. He gathers samples as seen in episode 72, he tells Titan TV man to hold off on killing G-Toilet, and he even believes that sacrifice is necessary for the progression of the Alliance. Towards the end of episode 77, we get to see a flashback sequence of him as a human. I really like the scene in this episode. It says so much with no words at all. The sorrow and regret on his face gives off the idea that he has just done something extremely horrific and has no way of stopping it. I think Scientist TV Man has the potential to be one of the best characters in the Skibidi Toilet universe. Before we get to my number 1 pick, I have an honorable mention, Dark Speaker Man. This is probably one of the coolest characters in this series. I like how he and Plungerman kind of have a bromance going on. That's kind of cool. And I also like how caring his character is despite his extremely serious look. In episode 69, he snatches the device from Lucky Cameraman to try and save everyone. But Plungerman motions for him to stop to wait for the 2 approaching cameraman. After this, however, he decides to shut the door to save everyone in that room. In this instance, Dark Speaker Man was trying to save his fellow associates, because if he wouldn't have closed that door, they all most likely would have been killed. Besides, those 2 cameramen would eventually reappear in episode 70 as the 2 green-suited cameramen that shake hands. And in case you didn't know, the green-suited cameramen work for the secret agent. And since we're on the topic of episode 70, let's talk about what Dark Speaker Man actually does in this episode. As the group is looking around in an enclosed room full of Alliance gear, they get attacked by a toilet with a TV death screen. Dark Speaker Man steps in and pushes Plungerman away from the death screen. And I love how basically at the end of this episode, Plungerman forgives Dark Speaker Man for closing the door on the 2 cameramen in episode 69 and daps him up one last time. Alright, this is the moment you have all been waiting for. The number 1 Skibidi Toilet character of all time. I chose to pick Plungerman for this spot. Now, this is probably one of the most basic number 1 picks of all time, because almost everyone in the Skibidi Toilet community absolutely love this character. But do they actually love this character, or the idea of him being one of the main characters in Skibidi Toilet? Me personally, I love this character because of his courage and willingness to do what's right. Take for instance episode 50. Everyone is running away except for Plungerman. He probably knows he can't kill off the giant toilets attacking the base, but he can at least try. Another example is episode 53. Whenever the Astro assailant makes his way into the scene and vaporizes the large speaker man, instead of running away, Plungerman flies up in the air and prepares himself to attack the toilet. So yeah, Plungerman is an extremely courageous character. I do really like his interactions with his best friend, Dark Speaker Man. In episode 67, they both dap each other up after being reunited. And in episode 70, as we talked about before, they dap each other up as a way of saying goodbye to each other. Now, Plungerman's human side is actually quite interesting. I really like how his human side complements his Plungerman side. In the first extra scene of Skibidi Toilet Season 25, he immediately heads straight towards the problem, and he does this without a care for his own personal well-being. Kathy, in this scene, really cares for Dave and doesn't want him to get hurt. And obviously, if you couldn't tell, Defuk Boom has hinted that Dave and Kathy are kind of a couple here. And hearing the distress in Kathy's voice when Dave leaves to go towards the danger really emphasizes how much she actually cares for him. And that's about it. So thank you for watching my top 10 video. And if you really liked it, why not share it with a friend and see if they agree with my picks?